tonight. It's just me and you for a little while. I hope that I can share my story a little bit about the hidden gift in caregiving and homeschooling. And if you know me personally, I could go on and on and on and share experiences from our homeschool days, because that was just a part of our life. That is what we did every day. And I love to tell stories and how things affected us during our homeschool journey. We made it a part of our everyday life. When we go to the hairdresser, we talked of homeschooling. I remember sitting at the dentist office having work done, and the kids were in the corner sitting watching their videos, and the dentist would say, "Hey, what are they doing?" And I'd just tell them, "Turn that around," and they'd turn their videos around, and he would see that the video teachers were on there teaching for me. So it's just I could just go on and on about different topics throughout, but let's talk about the hidden gift in caregiving. And yesterday we put up a thread, and some of you shared some of your experiences in that thread about caregiving, and I went through those last night, and wow, we're not alone. We're not alone. So know that there are other homeschoolers and there are other moms out there giving of themselves to others and caring for them. Sometimes we experience that perfect homeschool day where everything just goes smoothly. And then other days, those plans are just totally interrupted by something going on in the family. One of the things I always hear, we're never promised tomorrow, so cherish the moments today. So that's what we really need to do. One of the things I always told my children is, we're going to work on our school and we're going to follow our routine. But sometimes there are more important things that will come into our day, and the most important is when a family member needs us. I had someone very special showed up at my door with a nice big cup of coffee this morning. It was a family member caring about me and knowing what's going on this week. So caring for each other as a family is a part of our everyday routine as well. Do you have a loved one maybe who needs you? Are you wondering how you can continue living your life? I think about my kids today, and I think about them and their families, and my little granddaughter going to ball practice, and just the different activities that are going on, that are going on in their lives as they raise their children. And I think, man, they're doing what I did way back when, trying to live their life, and then all of a sudden something happens in the family, maybe with an older generation. It could be that it's another loved one. It could be a child that needs some special care. A disability is brought to the family, or you have a special needs child that needs some extra care. But all of a sudden you have this extra responsibility, and we all know caregiving is a job in itself. So how do you balance that caregiving with what you're doing as far as your family and your marriage and your homeschooling and your educating your home, in your home? And there's so many responsibilities to actually consider. So what do we need to do? We need to rely on who? The Lord. Rely on the Lord. He's going to see us through. Philippians 4:13. Philippians is my favorite book in the Bible. If you know me, I've said that many, many times. My favorite verse is rejoice in the Lord always. And again, I say rejoice. So when I'm down, I go to my favorite verse. Okay, I need to rejoice in the Lord always. But Philippians 4:13 says, I can do all things through Christ, which strengtheneth me. So putting the Lord first and letting him be our guide and letting him hold us in his hands and lift us up and walk alongside us. I'm so thankful that I have the Lord walking through my journey with me. I've witnessed over the years how he has supplied our every need over the years. So here's a little bit about my story. I'm gonna dig into some of the things that have happened to me. I remember years ago my grandmother getting very sick. She was still living at home, And she had been caring for, what a great example to me as a young homeschool mom. She had been caring for one of her children who was an adult. It was my uncle who was bedridden. She was caring for him in her home, but then she got sick. So her caregiving for my uncle, and then she needed help. And, what were we going to do? She had 8 children, one who was bedridden, but including my mom, there were 8 of them, making our extended family very large. I have like 36 some odd cousins. Of course, they're married and have children now. So we have a large family. But I was a young homeschooling mom at the time, and our family, we lived in Tennessee, they lived in Kentucky. They were about 2 hours away. But the family knew that they were going to need some help. So everybody jumps in and pitches in the family, and the family requested that I create and maintain a schedule for everyone to try to get everybody in taking turns, so we could kind of divide up the time to help my grandmother care for my uncle, as well as caring for her and helping her get some things done that she couldn't get done while she was caring, because my grandfather had already gone to heaven, so she didn't have that spouse to help her. She depended on her children and her grandchildren to help her. So I worked on the schedule, provided the schedule, sent it out via email. Once we had email and were able to do that, I sent it out snail mail some, because snail mail is all we had when we first started. But we got that schedule out to everyone. And my mom and her sister and her brothers took turns going up to help my grandmother on the weekends. There were a few family that lived around her, but a lot of the family lived several hours away. So, but they would take turns going in and caring for my uncle and helping my grandmother get some things done that she couldn't get done around the house due to caring for my uncle. Some of my cousins, they would also pitch in, and I kept up the calendar and schedule for all of them, and that's the way that kind of worked for us. But several years later, my grandmother got sick. She had a stroke, and we were all like, oh no, what are we going to do? And there was a need for round the clock care. Now remember, I'm a young homeschool mom, and I'm homeschooling, and I use the BJU Press materials, but I did a lot of parent-led, because I'm sorry, I wanted to teach I'm not sorry, I wanted to be the one to teach my children to read. So I did that part parent-led for all of my children, because I wanted to say one day, I taught my children to read. I taught them to talk. I helped them learn to walk. And I wanted to be able to do that. That was just something that I wanted, to have that closeness with my children. But circumstances came along, and my grandmother needed some help. What was I going to do? She was needing some round-the-clock care, not only for her, but for my uncle. I was the stay-at-home mom. A lot of my family was working, and so they weren't able to go. So they turned to me. Oh, you've got time. You're just staying at home. Yeah, right. I'm homeschooling. I am actually a teacher, and I have 4 different classes with 32 subjects that I'm teaching. Sure, I have time. I loved my grandmother, though. My grandmother and I, we had a special bond, and we talked almost on a daily basis anyway. I leaned on her for a lot of advice through the years, and I wanted to help, but I also had my husband, and I had my 4 little ones. How could I possibly help and homeschool and give my kids everything that they need? Homeschooling is work, too. Some people in our families, and I realize it's getting better. I think it's getting better than when Zan and I started, but I think it's getting better, and they're realizing how much work it does take. But then it hit me, okay, homeschooling, teaching, training, life skills. Okay, and one day I'm going to need help. So I knew then that I needed to step up and use that time to teach my children what it was to step in and help my loved one and care for them more than what I was doing. I was doing the schedule, but my kids couldn't really see that part. They needed to see me taking some action and actually getting out there and physically helping those who are older and wiser. As I thought through the situation, I realized that I just needed to be there for a few weeks. She just needed some, I guess, some rehab time at that point. And I needed to be there long enough for her to hold things together and to help with my uncle. And I thought, I can do that. So I talked with my husband and I said, what do you think? He agreed. He thought it would be a good thing for me to go and spend some time. After all, when I was younger, I used to spend 2 or 3 weeks at a time with my grandmother and work on the acreage that they had. I remember going with my grandfather out and rounding up the cows and getting them in and throwing hay in the barn and sneezing all over the place because I was allergic to the hay. So it wouldn't hurt me to take all the children and go and help for a while. Thankfully, homeschooling is very portable. Very portable. So I packed up the kids and off we went after making sure my husband was set for the week. And remember, we're only a couple hours away, so he planned to join me on the weekends and until Grandma was back on her feet. So I set my kids up on her kitchen table, doing their schoolwork each morning. And then I went from my uncle's room to my grandmother's room, back and forth, helping with their needs, back and forth, caring for them. And my kids would go into the rooms and read. They would do their read aloud assignments, read some of their stories, read their history chapters aloud to both my uncle and to my grandmother, and that helped keep them moving along in their schoolwork. But at the same time, they were learning how to caregive. They were learning what it meant to caregive. Wow, what a lesson that I was teaching them. And as a homeschool mom and realizing what they were learning was just amazing to me. My local aunts and uncles and cousins, they came in to help. So the kids also experienced the value of teamwork and of family coming together to care for the loved ones as needed. So it was really an amazing lesson to be able to teach the children how to care for our loved ones and those who need it. So fast forward another year or so down the road, my grandmother actually got very sick enough that she actually had to move to Tennessee, where I lived, to live with my mom. She was not well, and my mom and her siblings, they were trying to decide on a facility for my uncle. I was still bedridden, and then my grandmother needed some round-the-clock care constantly as she had been diagnosed with dementia and some other things. So in the midst of our grieving about losing her to that disease, the family also again wanted to honor and care for her. So we all rallied, and my aunt took in my uncle for a time until a facility opened up for him because he was starting to need some extra care and love through facility help. My grandmother came to my mom's, but she had to go to a rehab facility for a little while that was close to us. So every day, the kids and I went to the facility where my grandma was, just down the street, so she wouldn't be alone and feel scared, because she was always looking for the taxi to go home. She wanted to go home, and that was just part of that dementia state. But after a few weeks, we brought her home to my mom's, and then once again, we devised a schedule. And now remember, I'm homeschooling during all of this, but my mom hired some in-home care. So when she and dad had to go to work, we had a lady that would come in. But here again, I'm homeschooling, so I was the one that was home, and I was always on call. So when the caregiver that we had hired needed help, she would call me. So one time, Granny, and that's what my kids called her. She was my grandma, but my kids called her Granny. She locked herself in the bathroom. in that dementia state. So the hired help couldn't get into that bathroom to get her out. She was struggling. So she called me. I packed up the kids real quick and went across town, thinking, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back home and we'll finish school. Just leave your pencils, leave your books open. We'll be back, guys. So I packed up. We went across town to get Granny out of the bathroom. She was fine. We got her out. And I was getting ready to leave to go back. And as I had planned, the in-home caregiver had had enough. And she walked off the job and she left. She just could not handle the state that my grandmother was in, because she was a handful. Think of a 2-year-old and a big body. And so what did we do? What did we end up doing? The kids and I stayed with Granny until Mom and Dad got off work, and we played games with her and cherished the moments that we had with her. You know, so many times I would be with my grandmother and I would be sitting on the couch with her during this time, and she'd lean her head on my shoulder and she'd say, I'm so sorry your mom and dad have to take care of me like this. Boom, she was back in the moment. So you never know where they're at when they're in a state like this, and you want to cherish every moment with her, with them during these times. My mom found another in-home caregiver to help out Monday through Thursdays, and then I took Fridays. And so the kids and I, we would pack up every Friday. During that year, she was there, and we would go and take schoolwork. The kids would put their schoolwork in their backpacks. They'd bring their DVDs from the video courses, and we would go to Mom's house and start setting up in all the different rooms. And my grandmother, she would sit up on the couch and she'd say, tell Daddy I don't want to go to school today. And she'd ask, when do we start school? I'm ready. And because she got to watch the video courses with my kids, and so she would enjoy those video courses. And I'm so thankful that year I taught Monday through Thursday, and I taught the courses I wanted to teach parent-led, but I had the video courses right there on the shelf ready to go. And every Friday, my kids would get a substitute teacher through the video course teachers. And I'm so, so thankful that they were there to come alongside and help me. My grandmother, she especially loved watching the first grade video courses with my youngest. So thank you, Mrs. Walker, Mrs. Lawson, and those of you that taught in the first grade back then. Thank you so much for being on the screen to come alongside and help this homeschool mom out during those years so that I could have those special moments. Thank you, all of you video teachers, for all the efforts you put into those homeschool videos, because I needed you, as some of you may need their assistant. Because, and I've heard the video teachers tell us before that they love coming alongside you and assisting you and helping you. So much time was spent, and it enabled me to be in the moment with my grandma. For 10 months during that year before my grandmother went to heaven, my kids learned the skill of caregiving and showing honor to that family member who needed us. It isn't always the elderly either. It could be a young person. It could be a widow in your church. Don't let these beautiful moments pass you by or slip by. School is important. The academics are important. But don't forget, there are tools like the videos that can help to keep you going during these hard times. Use the tools that work for your situation. And don't feel like you always have to be the teacher. Be the mom, be the daughter, be the granddaughter, be the wife, be the caregiver. Didn't they care for you? This is the part of the session that I kind of get a little emotional. I've got some of my tissues here, so bear with me as I try to round out the session here. But we've heard the saying, God will not give us more than we can handle. But that isn't true, really, because God will not give us more than He can handle. Remember, He's there to come along the journey with us. He's going to get us through it. He's got a purpose. He's teaching us something, He's teaching our children something. He will see you through this time period. Cherish the moments. Teach your children the importance of caregiving about that loved one who needs you, whether they're in your home or at another family member's home, or maybe a facility is what's best for the situation where you need to visit often. Take the time to make these teachable moments memorable for your children. Remember, we're not promised tomorrow, so let's do today what we hope one day our children will do for us. So as I round it out, I've got a few tips for you. Just if you're caregiving, think about these. First, rely on the Lord. Rely on the Lord first. Put Him above all. Lighten up on the school workload. You'll have time in future years. You'll have time to dive into that U.S. history if you can't get to it now. Remember, they do U.S. history in elementary school, and then they do it again in middle school, and they do it again in high school. They're going to get it. So lighten up on the school workload. Just concentrate on the basics. Use the video course for at least some subjects to help you. If that will work for you. These teachers are amazing, and they've done so much work to pull it together, and I'm so thankful that they were there for us. Don't sweat the small stuff. Don't sweat that small stuff. Let it go. Let it roll away. Thank your children for helping. Thank them for reading aloud, because while they were reading aloud to Granny, you were able to go make lunch, or you were able to go do the laundry, fix something. Thank them for every effort they make to help you. When others offer to help with meals, laundry, or housework, receive it graciously. We're not superwoman. We're not able to do it all. This task is it's too big. It's more than one person job. So let others help you when they offer. Ask people to pray for you. Ask them to pray for you so that we need the prayers. I mean, even for doing this session, I can feel the prayers, and I'm so thankful that I have a team that's praying for me right now. So ask people to pray for you. That's okay. Cherish every single moment you have, and trust God to show you the beauty in this season of life. There's a gift here. Have you found it yet? Trust God to show you the beauty in this season of life. He will. The greatest lesson my children learned, here's where it goes. The greatest lesson my children learned during this time was what it truly means to honor and care for loved ones. Now, my children are all married, and they are jumping in without a second thought to care for a family member who's dear to us right now. Who needs them? Believe it or not, they've been here at my house behind the scenes helping during this party, and not a second thought. They've been caring for that family member. As I sit back and I watch them help and coordinate with each other I'm reading because I'm going to lose my emotions here. To help and coordinate with each other to be there for this family member, it makes me so proud of them. I am so thankful that the Lord enabled me as a young homeschool mom to not get flustered while caregiving, but to live in the moment and cherish it and teach my children how to honor their loved ones. Not every homeschool day will be perfect. It never is. And it won't always go smoothly, but every homeschool day will be a teachable moment to cherish always. So, did you see the hidden gift? Do you see it? Share with me in the comments if you found the hidden gift that you see in the stories today. It's just amazing how the Lord keeps us and helps us to know what we need to do as homeschool moms. It could be that widow that needs your help. It could be that friend who is maybe involved in caregiving that might need your help. And maybe it's just your kids going over and picking up sticks out of the yard or mowing the yard for that person. But just remember to love on those who are doing some caregiving, but also remember that one day you might need help with some caregiving as we get older. Sometimes we just need that help.